You know, everybody just needs to take online classes for a year, and then they'll realize how amazing these classroom events
It is
are.
just to come to class. Yeah?
Just to come to class and talk to people, and if you have a problem, you can immediately just raise your hand, ask, or just ask a fellow student.
All right, let's get a few things out of the way. This is Wednesday, February the 13th, 2013. This is Management 3025. And I appreciate all 6 of you attending tonight. Thank you very kindly. In case you doubt me, maybe we can just spin the camera around and show that.
I'll move in so you don't have to look so far over.
We're up.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a couple things to chat through and talk about some of the work I've been reviewing. But let me first open it up to you. Does anybody have any topic of interest they would like to raise with respect to the course, with respect to management in general, with respect to life in general? I'm feeling somewhat philosophical tonight.
The video is due.
The video is due the week after spring break.
It's like March.
It's March
Third
11th.
week.
March 11th, yes.
But I thought it was like that Monday right after spring break.
That's correct. All the assignments are due on a Monday.
Yeah. If we have to physically give it to you,
You can either create your own YouTube channel and post it, which is very easy, and you can post it up there. It gives you 3 privacy settings. You can say open to the public, unlisted, or private. Put it unlisted, and once you get it posted, get the URL for that and send it to me. Nobody can see that video unless you send in the URL, so it's still very private in that nature. If you post it as private, ain't nobody can see it but you, and that includes me. Can't see it either. The other alternative, if you would prefer, is to record the video and put it on a jump drive or thumb drive or a disk. And let me have that. I'll download it off your drive and give you your drive back.
well, it's just getting it to you before noon on Monday for people at work.
Yeah, that could be a little tricky.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think we ought to do that? Management decision. What do you think we ought to do?
Be prepared in advance and give it to you the previous class.
I think certainly if you didn't have any other guidance, the answer is get it in before spring break or put it in an envelope and mail it to me. Do you have my mailing address? Yes, you do. It's on Angel.
You gave it to us for the disc.
I put it on as an announcement on Angel in case you needed to send me an envelope, and I'll send you back a disk profile. So that's an alternative, okay? And again, in the absence of any other guidance, that's, I think, clearly your solution. You and I are here tonight. We have time to discuss that. Why don't we make this due on Wednesday? That Wednesday by, I don't know, midnight.
So
Wednesday the 13th, 1 month from today, 6 p.m., I'm sorry, midnight, to turn in the video. Okay?
well, that sounds
That's cool.
That sounds reasonable.
Be able to get it
I'm sorry?
if you mail it in on Monday morning or Monday sometime.
Yeah, you could probably mail it on Monday and I would get it, but, okay.
Or just show up to the campus, you know, it'll be open on Monday.
Do we have a class meeting on that 13th? Does anyone know? Yeah, I didn't bring my schedule. Okay,
Yes, we do.
good. Then the easy thing to do is bring it to me in class that evening.
Yep.
Cool. Excellent question. I really had not thought about the fact that everybody would not be available to get here.
Well, if people are on vacation that week of spring break.
Well, even if they're not, they can't get here to see me because I'm damn sure ain't gonna be here.
Is the school closed?
Yeah.
I mean, the administrative officers, everything is.
And you're probably going to be here because the midterm exam is that night.
Oh, good. How convenient. That's the midterm exam, March 13th. Bring your video.
Bring your video, scan your phone.
Yeah,
and
good,
drink.
good.
And popcorn.
And what the hell, good. All right, other issues? Anything, anybody? Sir?
I had sent you an email today. I'm not sure if it went through. It was on my phone on my lunch break. So
Yeah.
I keep forgetting. I lost my disk profile. It's either at my brother's house or at my house. And yeah, and to me, I think, how did I lose that? You know. So now.
No, you're the third or fourth person who's lost the profile.
Okay.
I'm just trying to put you in the order of how many I've received. I have a couple extra with me tonight.
Okay,
if you'd like one.
I'll pay you for it too.
That would be most appreciated. Good.
car. If I get like 5 minutes, I can go out and get it.
No big rush. No big rush.
All right.
Cool. What was I going to say? Disk profiles? Yeah,
Summary.
there is a disk summary report on Angel in the folder about the disk. Probably only a third of the class has filled that out and put it in the Dropbox. So if you have, fine. If you haven't, do so. And this is particularly for the people that aren't here and haven't done that. You need to take the disk. You need to fill out that report at the end, which shows me your 3 charts. And if you don't have a disk, you know how to reach me. Read the announcements on the Angel site, which you should be checking daily, because why?
You might be asking for the writing
I might be asking you for some writing assignment or two anytime. And the absolute truth is probably not very quickly, because my eyes are still bleeding from reading all those SWOT analyses. I have about 8 or 9 of those left. I have been sending you back feedback on each one individually. And so I will finish those here in the next day or two. Once I have finished those, the next competency isn't due until now, March 13th, so I'll have plenty of time to call in for some writing assignments. Okay, and you'll have 24 hours notice to submit those. Okay, anybody, anything
Writing
else?
assignments?
Those are the writing assignments. And I think by that date, we'll have finished, what, 5 or 6 of them, 4 or 5 of them?
At least 5.
At least 5.
We've
Uh,
done 4
okay.
already,
Around
so
4. Yeah, this will be the 5th one.
the 5th one will be this weekend or Monday.
Once I see some of what you're saying to me on that, we'll chat about some of those here in class as well. Okay? Anything else? Yes, sir?
There was a question. The writing assignment number 5 did not have a date for due.
It may be that that was an earlier schedule, that you printed it the first day of class and I updated it.
Okay.
I will check that when I get home this evening and make sure there is a date on the
All right,
schedule.
I was assuming that was probably just going to be 12 noon again.
If it shows a day, then yeah, 12 noon's the time.
On the 18th.
Okay, good?
I would like to make a comment about that 12 noon thing.
Yeah.
I was wondering for the first bit of class, why 12 noon on Mondays? Why 12 noon on Mondays? And I was doing your discussion thing over the weekend, and it hit me Saturday night. As I'm like at 2 in the morning, I'm writing it, and wait, he lets us have 12 noon on Monday so that we can stay up all night the previous night finishing up the project. He lets us pull all-nighters.
If you are that sort of procrastinator, yes.
Well, that is one of the weaknesses I listed.
Okay, okay. At least you're an honest man, right? Well, I picked 12 noon on Monday because I figure most, not all, most people will have the weekends free and be able to work on it. And they will get it to me Sunday night. And they will forget something and panic Monday morning and get it finished up.
Well,
But if the deadline is noon Monday, when should your personal deadline be?
Friday.
Friday or Saturday noon? Why?
because it allows you to bring feedback. Oh, you did this wrong.
No, I won't be giving you feedback that quick.
No,
I mean, probably trying to get it in.
Murphy's Law. That'll be the time. If you wait until noon Monday and say, I'll send it in now, that's just about the time Angel will shut down,
Right.
or your computer will die. Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong at the very worst possible time.
I like to believe in the Gainesville law.
The Gainesville Law? What's
Yeah,
that?
if it can go right, it will.
If it can go right, it will. Yeah, man. You bet. That's why I'm really fairly intolerant about stuff that's turned in late, because there's no reason for that. You've got everything for the term laid out in front of you. And if it's due this date, then why isn't it being turned in early?
It's that accounting class.
Not my problem. Okay, anything else? Sir?
2 parts about the writing assignment. Whenever you request it, it's not going to be just a general post for everybody.
No, it will not. You'll get a
Discussion forum.
personal
It'll be
email just from me, signed Love Roger.
Okay. And once we've gotten our first email, say next week I give you all the first 5.
Okay.
And the second email comes to me asking for what I've completed so far. Am I just going to give you 6 through whatever and
Whatever the
not
date
the
is.
first 5 all over again?
Correct.
Okay.
And frequently I'll just say, send me writings number 3 and 4. You send me number 1, and you send me number 2. And what I try to do is, you say, oh, he asked for these, I sent him in, he won't bother me for another, maybe not the rest of the term, and I'll get you next week again. So don't relax, okay? All right, anything else? Is there a method to my madness?
I'm sure there is.
Be prepared.
It's just like having your boss around the corner.
Exactly right. And when the boss says, I need it by Thursday at 3 o'clock, he doesn't mean give it your best shot, and if it's not right, it's okay. He says, I want it by 3 o'clock Thursday, I want it done right. And if you don't finish it early, you're a damn fool. And so I'm trying to build that in. But I want to be able to discuss it too. Yeah. All right, anything else? Okay. I was just kind of looking through the book, and does this look familiar? Have you read about this yet? What is this?
It was the
BCG square?
It's a BCG Matrix. BCG, the Boston Consulting Group. This has been around for 3 decades anyway, maybe more, probably 4. And it's their way of looking at a company and its performance in its market. And it looks at what share of the market they have, either a high share or a low share, and whether the market is growing or not, high growth, low growth, or stagnant market. And they say, based on this division, you can take the products or services that your company sells and put them in one of these 4 categories. A cash cow is a product that's in a fairly stagnant, not growing market, but it's got a huge amount of the share. You own it all. Maybe Kleenex tissues comes to mind, I'm not sure. Okay. What do you do with a cash cow?
You milk it for all it's worth.
You milk it for all it's worth and protect it from anything else.
You try not to kill it.
You try not to kill it or let anything else kill it. And in the meantime, you take the cash that it's throwing off and you use that to develop wherever else you might. Okay? What's a star? You own a high share of a high growth market. You're the star, you're the leader. That's great. What's it going to take to stay there? Well, it may take some of the cash from the cash cow to continue to grow. We don't know. What's a dog?
What you want to get rid of.
Probably something you're either going to benignly neglect till it dies, or you're going to simply cut it off and say, okay, we're out of that business, close that down. Okay? So, really good, really bad, really good but not growing, and then the question mark. What's a question mark?
Things to take a chance on.
Do you want to take a chance on? Here is something that is in a high growth market, but we only are a small player. Do we want to play in this game or not? Right? What's the commercial I saw? Go big or get out, or
Oh, go big or go home?
go big or go home. Yeah, that's kind of what that is. Make the decision. If you decide to go big, your cash cow is going to give you the funds to be able to do that. Okay, so far? That's kind of from a marketing perspective. Now turn it around. What about in your life or mine? Are there areas in our lives that take relatively effort and give us tremendous benefit? Are there areas in our lives that take a lot of effort and give us no benefit? Are there areas in our lives that take little effort and give us huge benefit, somewhere up here, and growing? And are there areas in our lives where we need to reconsider whether or not we want to be involved with that or not? And so what I'm trying to do is take another paradigm that we use from corporate America and apply it to you and me personally. In your strategic analysis, the SWOT, one of the questions that's got to be asked is, are you doing the right thing for you right now? Yeah, it's really good to know if you're doing things right. But you can be doing things exactly right, the right way. But if you're doing the wrong thing, you're wasting your time. You see what I'm saying? I have had one person so far in this course say, I sat down and I wrote up this SWOT analysis and I have decided to change my entire career. I have realized that I am miserable in the job I want. I know the things that I love and I wanted to do in the past, and I have decided I'm not going to go down this track anymore. I am changing, and I mean major change in life, because I have finally sat down and looked at it and said, this ain't what I want to do. I think that's a eureka moment. I think that's very powerful. Now, plan it out very carefully. Don't just jump out the airplane and then look and see if you brought your parachute. Right? So, BCG Matrix, I think another example where with a little twist, you can make it applicable to your personal life as well as a corporate or business decision. McGregor, tell me about Mr. Douglas McGregor. Anybody?
He did the Theory X and Theory Y.
Good. He's a Theory X, Theory Y guy. He said there's two approaches to management, and they are basically a set of before-the-fact beliefs. That you come into management of other people with either an X attitude or a Y attitude. The X attitude is?
Very,
Pessimistic? Is that?
yeah.
Pessimistic is good. Yeah, you're pretty sure that these people, A, don't want to be here, B, will do as little as possible, and C, need a good swift kick in the ass on a regular basis to stay motivated. And that's your job. And so you can become a micromanager. You can become incredibly short-sighted and short of people skills. And you can create tremendous morale problems. And if your organization continues to function, maybe it's in spite of you, not because of you. The Theory Y assumptions are?
More hands-off.
Why?
Laissez-faire, believes that everyone's going to do the best they can do on their own.
These people are here because they want to be. They'll do the very best they can. My basic job is to give them the resources they need and the occasional pat on the back for doing a good job. That's my job. Okay? Can you apply that to your personal life? Yeah.
I got one.
Okay.
Yeah, I can apply the pessimistic, boot in the rear kind of thing to actually my roommate.
Okay. And maybe that's not a set of assumptions. This is based on your experience with
Yeah,
him.
this is based on the experience with him, but I've been doing it now for a while, and I've got him back into college, and I've got him making good grades.
Mhm.
But mainly it's because I don't want to continue paying more than my half of the rent. I wanted him to get financial aid so he could start covering some of it. So it's a boot in the rear to get him good grades.
So you're very crafty.
Well,
That's to be commended.
thank you.
I mean, but what you just pointed out is there is an opportunity for leadership in every aspect of our life. In working with roommates and working with colleagues. How about children? Theory X, Theory Y. What do you think? If you are a parent.
Depends on the child.
Yeah.
Thankfully for me, mostly Theory Y.
Okay.
Every now and then.
You
Yeah.
want to start off with Theory X and then slowly wean them off with Theory Y.
So come on as a pretty hard authority. These are the rules. Damn it, stick with the rules or get punished. Bye-bye. And then as they conform and build good habits, you can ease back.
Exactly.
Would that apply in management?
To a degree, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The real key is in how harsh and hard you come in. Because if you come in from day one as a total SOB, you can look to alienate some of your better people. And there's no gain to that. But with children, when they're not yet formed, form them. Shape them up. My theory is from 0 to 5, that's when you learn the rules. And from 5 to 12 is when you test the boundaries. And by age 12, there's nothing you're going to do to change that kid. If you haven't raised him right till then, it's all over.
I think some of it's ingrained. I mean,
Now, explain ingrained.
I got one of each. I got an X and a Y.
Mhm.
My daughter, very self-sufficient, self-motivating. My son, I have to be on him for everything. And so I feel like, from each one, it's like almost she came out ready to go, and he came out.
And you look at it and
Yeah.
say, whose
Lost
child
his
are
head.
you?
So.
Well, we're into the field of child psychology, about which I claim no knowledge, but a fair amount of experience. You understand what I'm saying? Comment.
Yeah, I have two nephews that are the same way, and the two words I have to describe each one is calculative, and he follows the rules, he wants nothing, no problems, and the other one is compassionate. Compassionate one will break all the rules because they don't apply, but he'll give you the biggest hug at the end of the day. Whereas a calculative one doesn't really want to be touched, especially by his brother, his compassionate brother. And when he tries to say, don't touch my stuff, and the compassionate one touches everything, then they clash. But I mean, that's, you know, that's something that I've noticed just between my two nephews. I wasn't sure if that's a universal thing, but
What is the compassionate one's name?
Travis
Travis. His last name?
Browning.
Travis Browning. Can you say this after me? Senator Travis Browning.
Senator.
He has all the makings, you know, warm, cuddly, love to hug, and break any damn rule you need to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. When we talk about the kids, they're so different, very common. There's a lot of psychology about second child syndromes, and, you know, the first child is always this way. Maybe go back to something on the disc profile. What are their, and there's too young to be fully formed, but they are being shaped. Whatever you are on that disc profile, for example, part of it is the environment you grew up in, and part of it is genetic. It just comes down that way. So if you can identify with this model or any other one or two or three, some way to get a handle on what's motivating and driving these behaviors, then we can start talking about the way you need to communicate with that person. I don't like the Theory X model because it doesn't listen. I think it's terribly important to listen. But there are times and there are people that if you listen, they've got great reasons for everything, but you still don't get anywhere with them. So I don't know the answer to that. You know? But at least clearly, each one takes a different leadership style. We return to the disc profile. I just put these comments up on board. I hope you can sort of recognize it. Here's the major matrix. The D, I, S, I'm sorry, S and C, like we said before, but I've added some other terms. Sometimes people like to take this scheme and talk about the warrior personality. That's the driver. And that doesn't mean necessarily martial arts and fighting and killing, but it does mean a determined effort and a maintenance of rigid control. And so, particularly with young people, when we talk about the warrior mentality, the boys kind of pick up on that and they say, oh yeah. But sometimes girls recognize that they also have that mentality. It's just not displayed in fighting. It is displayed in that determination to be in control and make things happen. I have a former student, one of the finest students I've ever had. She is a very strong D personality, and she is now an attorney. Would you want her for your attorney? Oh, hell yes. You want her on your side, and you damn sure don't want her on the other side. Okay? The I personality, sometimes referred to as the priest role, in the sense not religion, but the priest is the one who speaks and inspires and motivates. And so some people are happy thinking in those terms. We look at the S in terms of being the poet. The contemplative observes, but quietly makes notes or maybe writes poetry or literature, fiction, whatever. But very inward leaning and contained. And then we talk about the C as the scholar, the one who wants to know how everything works and make sure it works just right. So if those terminologies strike a chord to anyone, then develop them, use them, refer to them. But remember that all of them combined allow you to become the philosopher. The philosopher takes a philosophical perspective on things, doesn't get emotionally involved, doesn't get manipulated, and takes things at a whole and then responds according to the situation. If I need to be a C today, I can be a C. If I need to be an I tomorrow, I can be an I. That's just another layer on this disc profile as far as a way to look at it. Reminder, Aristotle talked about the D personality, calling it the choleric. What does choleric mean? Prone to anger, okay? Emotional, in an angry, negative way. And we know that the D personality is the personality that moves quickest to anger. And even when they don't display the anger, it builds within them. And so they can be subject to a lot of internal stress, the type A personality.
High blood pressure.
High blood pressure, you bet.
And I won.
Mm-hmm.
High blood pressure.
He refers to the C personality as the melancholy personality. Now, melancholy typically means sad, and that's where I think it's a kind of a misnomer. But C's can become, they are perhaps, the strong C's, way out here on the edge, are more prone to mental illness and stress than anybody else, because they want things to be the right way. and that can be very debilitating if you allow it to consume you.
The melancholy may refer to what they see around them rather than themselves.
Good
So
point.
I find that a lot.
Good,
Being a
good.
C.
Happy with inside, but look at how screwed up things are out here. You know? And that is, to me, that's a C that has matured, that doesn't try or even involuntarily reflect all the disarray around them, that they're confident enough in themselves to know, I'm fine, I'm happy, I'm doing a good thing, but I see all the errors that are out there. Sure. The S is called the phlegmatic personality. Phlegmatic means without expression, without emotion. And we know the S personality typically doesn't show much emotion. And the more intense the emotions, the deeper they are and the less they're seen. How are you doing today? Fine. Are you upset? No. Okay. And then the I personality is called sanguine by Aristotle. The sanguine personality. Sanguine means, what, me worry? No problems. Everything's fine. It's going to be great. I'm optimistic. So another way to look at it. Major fears for each one. This is important, I think. Biggest fear of a D, loss of control or being taken advantage of. If you threaten a D with that, you will have a confrontation immediately. They will not discuss it. They will stand up in your face, look you in the eye, put their ears back, and let's have it out. Don't take control away from me. Biggest mistake you can make as a manager is to take a D employee and try to micromanage him. You'll ruin him, and you won't enjoy the trip. Biggest fear of an I, social rejection. If you have an I employee working for you, for God's sake, don't embarrass them in public. Worst thing you can do. We know that anyway as a rule, right? About criticizing the work of others. We never criticize in public, we do it privately. But if you're going to praise publicly, the I is a person who typically will enjoy that much more than the others, particularly more than these down here. These are more introverted. Biggest fear of the S, we say, is the loss of security, but security can take different forms. It may be emotional security, it may be financial security, job security, maybe just the security of this is my office, don't take it away from me, don't move me. Tend to be very resistant to change. Okay? We
Red
find,
staplers.
say again?
I said red staplers.
Yeah, it's my red stapler. Leave it alone. What we find with that is that if you or I are managing or leading that kind of person, they need a little bit more reassurance that everything's okay, everything's fine. They may need a touchstone to relate to a little more regularly than some of the folks down here. And then the S, biggest fear, criticism of their work, privately or publicly. They judge themselves by the quality of their work just as they judge others. And when you attack that, that is their validation. When that happens, you can get ready for a pretty good fight too, but you'll never see it coming. They will go out and document everything they've done and the reason it is correct. And one day, when you're not expecting it, they will come into your office very quietly and set down a stack of papers this big and say, this proves why I was right. Read it all. Prove it. Okay? So, those are the fears. If those are any of your fears, then in part of your strategic plan. Many of you talked about my weaknesses. Our fears are weaknesses if we don't control them. And so one of the questions I find myself asking repeatedly on the SWOT analysis is, in your planning, go back to the weakness area and say, what are you going to do about it? One of my weaknesses is that I fear social rejection. Fine, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to toughen up? How are you going to learn to accept criticism without getting angry or without collapsing? Yes, particularly is good at collapsing. So, general topics and more depth to the model. I've drawn these blue lines out here, which I'm now going to color green, to indicate these are sort of the edge. That is, if you're down here, you're a really strong I. If you go beyond that realm, you get into what I'm calling the danger zone. If you are too strong of an I, you will be perceived as being arrogant, egotistical, braggadocio, and what happens to your credibility? Everybody begins to think you're full of hot air. You spend more time looking at yourself in the mirror than you do doing your job. Not a good thing. All right, if you're down here on the outside as an S, beyond the danger limit, what are the dangers? How will you be perceived? Lazy, apathetic, uncommunicative, unmotivated, a loner, social misfit, and what happens to your credibility? You don't have any, all right? What happens if you're out here as a C?
You OCD?
You either are or you're perceived as OCD, right? Obsessive compulsive. You are socially inept. You don't socialize at all. You don't like to be around people. You're antisocial. You're so involved in your numbers and your books and your whatever documents that it's impossible to carry on a conversation with you. And so, while you might have great credibility with your knowledge, your inability to interact with others is going to limit the power of that knowledge. Now, what happens if you're a strong D? Much like the I, you are perceived as very arrogant, very self-impressed, very controlling, and totally unapproachable.
Very physical.
Not necessarily physical, because I've seen a number of women who are strong D, and it's not because they're physically imposing or ready to, you know, let's duke it out. It's because they will absolutely not tolerate any disagreement or discussion. Here it is, I told you what's going to happen, get on with it.
I see them as a cliff face against the side of an ocean where the waves just keep crashing.
Pretty much.
And crashing.
Pretty much. Now,
They'll stand there.
if we understand these things, what do you think happens to a D type the first time they get in a position of supervision over others?
They intimidate.
They intimidate, and many times they do it even subconsciously. It's bullying. They bully to get their ways because that's been successful for them in the past. And what else do they have going against them that first time they're going to supervise others? Because they're usually very good at what they do with their hands or their minds, but they're not necessarily very good with the relationship skills. And so not only do they bully and perhaps impose their will in a not pleasant way, they don't listen. They're not listening. So, what would you tell this person? You just promoted him up to his first position as a supervisor. You got any advice for him?
Listen.
Hmm?
Listen.
I listen. I always listen. I listen to anybody who's got a good idea.
Think before you speak.
I would never do anything but think before I speak. I'm very confident, you know. Come on, I'm the D personality. I'm getting ready to take over my first job as a supervisor. What else you want to tell me? Yes, sir?
You have a strong team underneath you, and they have skills that you don't have.
I'm sure they do.
You tell them relax.
Did you hear the rest of my statement? But I'm still better than they are.
Yeah.
They'll have to meet my standard. Go ahead. I like playing the D role. It's always fun.
Did you tell them relax a little?
I always relax.
Don't leave a path of destruction.
I never do that. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, very egotistical.
I don't do things wrong. Okay? Understand that. I've always done things the right way. Don't worry about it. I can take this team and run them.
If you work with them, then they will in turn help you to achieve a better position.
Here's what I'm thinking. I don't need their help. I'll get their help if I need it. I'll get it. What am I trying to come across with?
You're willing to do whatever it takes.
They will tell you anything you want to hear. But they're still going to go out and do it their own damn way. That's the hardest personality of all to change. To try to make them soften up and open up and build some relationship skills. Now, I'm talking about them at the extreme, the ones who are very high D. And you know where I am on this graph, right? You remember that? What's my dominant?
S.
S. In fact, it's a very high S. I'm right down in here, maybe over here sometimes. Sometimes I'm sure people look at me and think I'm just lazy as hell. To which I think to myself, so?
I think with the D, it would be a hi, welcome to the firm. I hear you're the manager. Do you want to go out and get a beer?
Well,
and it
you're-
would just be like get them a little, get them relaxed in an environment that they feel comfortable in. So you go to the game and get a beer. I'm making general assumptions on these, but
Yeah.
go to the game and let's go see the Ravens and get a beer, eh? And you bring them there, and that's where they'll start to open up. You find a place where they can open up more, and that's where you can really convince them to do things.
Here's the key to that, because you're right on track. Some of the closest friends I have in the world are out here. We are total opposites in that regard. But we have a very close relationship. How is that possible?
You offset each other.
When they first met me, the ones that I have in mind, they were students to begin with. And we grew to be very good friends. But from the first day we met, I was at least their equal, in fact, their superior in some skills and abilities. And that's how they judge people. If you're not capable, you don't rank. I have the benefit of having started out with them, having already proven myself. Between my background in academics, my background in the military, and the various other activities I've been in. So I had credibility from the get-go. And that's what they're judging. Can you do it, or have you done it? And if you can't prove that, you don't have much credibility with me, the D. So if you're going to build the rapport with this D, then you've got to establish the fact that you are his or her equal in terms of ability. Okay? Then you can begin to approach them and get them to listen. But until you've got their attention and their openness to listen, very difficult to get them to change their ways. Particularly when they get under stress, which is where we typically put them, because they're good. Question? No? All right. What's the danger? No, we did that. Okay, never mind. The other thing you might do is if you've got people in this team they're going to take over that you already know and you've built a good relationship with, you can brief them a little bit. You guys got a new manager coming in here and he's really sharp. He really knows his stuff. And the first thing you need to prove to him is that you know your stuff too. If you don't get off on the right track with this guy or girl and prove that you are really good at what you do, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Okay? By the same token, where do we make a mistake? Many times we take an underperforming team who isn't very good and we put the D in charge. They will never rise to his level. He won't let them. If you've got a really good, strong performing team, do you want a McGregor Theory X manager? You've got a team of 5 people who are crackerjack, they're first rate. You're going to put a McGregor Theory X guy in there? What's he going to do?
He's going to ruin them.
He's going to monitor everything they do and criticize every chance he gets. He's going to destroy that morale. When you've got a good, high-functioning team, they don't need somebody, cracking the whip over them. What do they need?
To be left alone.
Give them the resources they need. Find out what makes them tick. Praise them for doing so good. What are the particular personalities in that group? But do you see the fallacy in putting a D in charge, or a Theory X manager, in charge of an already good, highly functioning team? It's a disaster. Okay? What personality type might go better there?
An I.
An I or an IC or a CI? Because the C is going to want to know the details and be concerned with the details, but they're also going to be a motivator, a pat on the back kind of person. Okay. Is this a complete model? By no means. But this gives us a way to think about who should I promote up to supervise this particular situation? Or why is so-and-so as a supervisor having such a problem? One other thing in here. You ever heard of the Peter Principle? Anybody heard of that? Is a book by that name? Peter Principle says if you get an entry-level job, you're at level A. Maybe you're working for Publix and your first job is you bag groceries. The next job up is you become a stockman. That is, you stock the shelves. And back in my day, you put the prices on them because we didn't have scanners. And so the status symbol was the old stamp that you carried on your belt that you stamped every can with. When you had one of those on your belt, you were clearly not an entry-level employee. You were a dude. Okay? And if you were pretty good there, maybe they put you over as the assistant manager in produce. Okay? And so you get promoted again and again and again, from A to B to C to D. What got you promoted from A to B? Doing a job good good and well. You did this job at this level really good, so we gave you that job. What got you promoted to C?
The same exact thing.
Doing really good at B. Boom. And likewise, you get promoted to D if you're really good at C. But do you see that each time you get promoted, you're getting promoted back based on what you did do, not necessarily what you can do. And so the big key for a lot of people, wherever that job is the one that involves supervision and working with people. Because you can do good things with your hands and your brain, but it's a whole different skill set to manage people. So too often when people would get promoted up to where they're managing people, even though they were good down here, they implode. They don't function well at all. They don't know how to deal with the problems, the issues, the complaints, the whining, you didn't make it in on time. How do you deal with all that stuff? When you get promoted up, maybe this is why, maybe it's for other reasons, when you get promoted up to the job that you can't do, when you get promoted up to your level of incompetence, we call that your Peter Principle level. The Peter Principle is that people get promoted up the ranks until they reach the job they cannot do. And now they're managers. Anybody ever experienced that? You ever work for somebody that really wasn't competent? Really? If you've had more than 2 jobs, I think there's a good probability that you've experienced that. Okay?
Some of them even admit it.
Say again?
Some of them even admit it.
A few will. A few will. And some will even trade back down just to become comfortable. But too many, their ego gets in the way and they can't imagine they're doing anything wrong or that they should change anything to do it. So when I use the term Peter Principle, he's at his Peter Principle level. You understand what I'm saying? He's up at his level of incompetence. He's probably 1 level above where he should be, maybe 2. What happens in larger organizations with this person is we shuffle them off to some job in the side where we can hide them. Do you think that goes on at Santa Fe?
Yes.
I guarantee you. It goes on among students, faculty, and administrators, okay? There are students who try and just, they don't perform. They're not prepared to go on academically. And so they get slowly shuffled off to the side until they finally either change or give up. With faculty, what happens? We find faculty members that we hire who are very knowledgeable, but who couldn't teach a drunk how to open a beer can. What do you do with them? You find them other administrative duties where they can be productive and create value, but not as a teacher.
Give them research jobs.
Yeah. Well, making them administrators, kind of the pun anyway. Those who can't teach, those who can't teach become administrators. You never heard that? I guess when this goes on YouTube, I'll lose my job out here.
No, you'll be an administrator.
That's right. Thank you. I'll get a promotion. Okay. Those are a couple of things I wanted to talk about. How many of you seen the video I made about the SWOT analysis? Only a couple. After doing all but 10 of them, so I did about 50, 55 of them, and created the feedback and mailed them back, I had to stop and take a break, and I made a little 6-minute video that said, look, this is what I'm seeing in the SWOT analyses. And the big point I wanted to bring out of there, and since some of you haven't seen it yet anyway, you really didn't get much guidance on how to do that, did you?
No.
No.
I called a friend in Orlando who's also in business school
Okay.
and made him talk for 3 hours before I did mine.
Okay. Perfect.
But that was it.
Well, this is, I did that for a reason, and I'm going to do it to you again here sooner or later. Many times you're going to get direction from your superior that is not very clear. They're not even sure what they want, but they know they need something like this, and they're going to say, get me something and get it to me by Friday. And if you look at that task in front of you and you do the minimum amount necessary, you think that this is just, I'll do a little bit here and that ought to be it, you're dead in the water. Because when you are on your own, you're supposed to be creative, show a lot of initiative, do plenty of research, and create a document that is much broader and deeper than the man wanted or the woman wanted. Okay? Because if you fail to do that, and you come in with less than their expectations, you're dead. Your credibility is destroyed. They may not even know for sure what their expectations are, but when they look at what you've got, it's going to meet one of 3 criteria. It's going to be enormous, incredible, deep and broad and wonderfully, explanatory. And damn, I didn't know we could talk that much about it. That's so much to know. You did such a great job. You blew them away. Or it's going to be, oh, maybe this is enough. I don't know. Question mark. Or it's going to be, what the hell is this? This isn't what I asked for. So which of those are you going to choose? If you don't choose the first one, you may not get another assignment. You get limited opportunities to impress your superiors with what you're doing. A lot of it is based on your writing. That's why I'm such a jerk about writing. But a lot of it is based on exceeding the expectations of your superior. And doing it, not just that, that's what you do. You exceed expectations. And then how you do that is critical. By how you do it, I'm talking about you do it and you make it appear that it was no effort at all. That's just the way I do things, boss. This is incredible. How long did this just take? I don't know, a couple, 3 hours. You spent 14 hours on the damn thing. You worked all day Saturday. And so you might say, well, I worked on it Friday, came in a little bit on Saturday, and knocked it out. Is this okay? Why am I saying that? Why am I doing that?
You're lowering your own expectations of
Well,
it.
you don't want to be perceived as braggadocio, as bragging on yourself all the time. This is, yeah. Well, thanks, Bob. I'm glad you like it. I had a lot of fun doing it. The more I got into it, the more detailed it became, the more I enjoyed it. Fine. What's going to happen the next time he needs something? He'll call you. Do you want that to happen? If you don't want that to happen, you need to get out of that job right now. Question.
Another reason that you want to play it down as to how much effort you put in is you want your boss to think this is normal for you.
That's right.
Not this is an extreme, this is the best you have. You have better to offer than him.
That's right. This meets my personal standard of excellence, but I'm probably capable of even more than that. Yeah. And you get 2 or 3 chances to do that in a given job. And if you don't exceed, you don't look for any other chances. You don't look for promotions. And you will get efficiency reports or evaluations that said meets expectations. Meets expectations. That's a very polite way for saying what? Loser. I don't want to fire him. It's too much hassle, but this person is not setting the world on fire. Okay? And that's what I was trying to get across in the video. And I'm trying to share that with you with regards to the whole program, the SOM program, as well as in the real world, if we can use that term. Exceed expectations. Over-prepare. Go crazy. All right? That was the other message I had tonight. That ends my sermon. Anybody else? Any other questions or comments?
Can't believe you just said go crazy. But
In a good way.